So now we have 3 mythic characters in game, and the first one, the OG, is the Spectre. And he is basically killer for hire. He works for Atlas Corporation, and they found this T3 material in AC, which basically allows them to make advanced armor, sharper, better guns. And so they made the Spectre a custom armor, and that is how he became the mythic. And I really like this idea. I think that it makes sense, and he definitely deserves a mythic title, because even though he wasn't too prominent in the comic lore, like in the COD mobile lore, but he is an OG character. And overall, this whole killer for hire, he is said to be the best of them. It really just fits the mythic title. Now the second one is Templar, and he has an even deeper background. First of all, he is only available in Call of Duty Mobile, and so in the lore he was a part of this Five Nights terrorist organization, and later on that organization of course failed. Then he turned out that was a part of a Dark Covenant as well, which is another shady terrorist organization with members like Artery, Steinfeld, Witch Doctor, and so on. And then he was betrayed by the Ghost when he decided to just fight against the Dark Covenant, because they took basically his daughter Sophia a captive, and they wanted to train her and to turn her into an even better warrior than the Templar. And so once he found that out, he just started pretty much killing them. And so the Ghost betrays him, he shoots him in the face, he is presumed dead, but turns out that he is alive. And the armor itself, the mythic, it originates basically from his family, because he is a Coteu, or how you pronounce it correctly, and they had this mythic armor hidden in just one of their houses, and he gets it. And he needs the armor to fight against the Tontine family, who is also an agent family of a strong influential people, and basically there is another war. So Templar, I think that he is very prominent in overall the comic lore. He is only available in Call of Duty Mobile, so he is definitely mythic, and I really like that we have him as a mythic here. And the newest addition, the first female mythic, Siren. Now she does not have such a deep lore as the previous two characters, or at least the Templar, but she has been in game for a really long time, and she has been one of my favorite characters. She is a really good Battle Royale sweatskin, and so in the lore itself she is basically this very trained, well, she was taken when she was like 12 or 14 from Brazil by some people who just trained her to be a very good fighter, and she was going on various missions, and then eventually she was captured by Atlas, and they modified her. Basically they turned her into a mythic against her will, and then they just kept her under the sea like SpongeBob, and she was basically in a state of sleepies. And then what happened was that when Kestrel killed Director, he released the Iron Will, which is basically a chat GPT for the Atlas, and this AI, he became free, as it was just the last thing that the Director did before he died. And so the chat GPT goes down to the under the sea, and he just frees Siren, and she wakes up. And she wakes up not only as the previously very skilled warrior, but she is also just like literally turned into a mythic variant. And so she wants revenge, and she just swims up, and what happens next, maybe we will find out in the comics, maybe not, but it kind of might seem a little bit stretched, but I think it's a cool idea. And as for the team itself, I know that some people were saying how she is like Manta Ray or something, but you have to understand that Manta Ray is literally a Stingray reference, and Siren is also a sea creature, so we both just have to have some sort of a oceanic theme. And it's not a ripoff, it's not a copy or a remake. The main mythic aspect of these characters is that we have a default form and a final form, which of course costs more money. And so we have various different design looks compared to either it is a default or a mythic variant. And default, I would say it is closer to like a legendary option, and Mythic is the Mythic. Now the default Spectre I actually am not too fond of, he just looks unfinished. And so I much prefer the Mythic, it is definitely one of my favorite skins in game. When it comes to Templar, the default skin is really very solid. And I have a hate-love relationship with the maxed variant because it is quite bulky, and also it just looks like Templar has been a bad boy and Santa turned him into a coal man. Like, it is not as making sense, but it really looks menacing, it is quite great. Though in Battle Royale I would not really prefer this one. I would play with the regular default option, and Siren, they are both quite similar. However, the max variant is darker and it just looks more finished. But then again, I played with both in Battle Royale as I was doing the camo grind, and I kind of like the default more in game. However, in multiplayer you can really use either, and well, the Mythic variant does look a little bit better, but they are both quite good, I must say. Now, when it comes to the color palette, I am really disappointed with the Mythic Spectre. The most you can do is nice blue shade combinations, so you can pair him with like the Aether Crystal camo or the Damascus camo. But since I usually use him with futuristic guns and most of them are primarily blue, those camos just work very well. However, the design limitation is still unpleasant. Mythic Spectre, on the other hand, he has the best color combinations ever, because you have his bronze gold thingy, you have the blue, you have the silver, you even have the red for the primary, so like you have everything covered. And from secondary, mostly I use the red or this purple, deep purple, or how you even describe it. They say galaxy, so yeah. And so you get the Damascus, you get the Aether Crystal, you get Platinum, you get Diamond, you get Red Sprite, Blistering Magma, you name it. Now, when I was recording the previous Siren video last night, I said that she has very good camos from the Zone 8, but after taking a second look, I have to say that she is a little bit lacking, especially compared with the Templar. Like, this isn't really red, so you cannot go with the red sprite, the green is really not necessary, gold, well, maybe with the gold camo, but there is little versatility to choose from, and the Zone B are just... I mean, don't get me wrong, they do look good just looking at them, but when you have to pair her with the camos on your guns, neither of those options is particularly good. From these skills, the only notable one is the kinetic armor. And also Templar and the Siren, we have custom finisher moves, however the Spectre, he just has a regular... To conclude everything, from just the default variants, assuming that you haven't maxed it out, or just to compare, I have to say that the best ones are a tie between the Siren and the Templar. The Spectre, it is quite nice, but it is just lacking in contrast and overall. And which of these is better? Well, it really depends on your personal preference, I would say. And for movement in Battle Royale, I would rather use the Siren. But Templar is really solid looking as well. And from the maxed characters, well, I would have to say that Siren is a third, although they all look nice, but she's just not as good as the Templar or the Spectre, and Spectre gets the first place just because it is the very first Mythic, and he definitely looks like a Mythic. Templar, either a solid tie or just a second, and then we have a Siren. Siren, she's really not a bad skin, but even the default variant is good and there isn't much of a difference really in my opinion. But I really like them all, and my personal preference would be either Templar or Spectre. But before making this video I actually was not sure if I like Templar or not, and now I know.